What if your body already knows the answers you're searching for, but you've just been taught to look in the wrong place? When you're trying to make a decision, my bet is that you go straight to your mind. You think, you analyze, you weigh up the pros and cons. You might even ask other people what they think. But what if the answer isn't actually in your mind? What if it's already in your body, quietly waiting for you to listen? Welcome to Dear Curious Soul, a space where you can follow your curiosity and explore yourself, your body, and the world around you. I'm your host, Dashankar, and today I want to explore something that can feel a little mysterious at first, but becomes incredibly powerful once you start playing with it. I'm talking about muscle testing, sometimes also known as muscle dowsing. And today I want to share what it is, how it works, and talk you through how you can actually do it for yourself. Recently, I had this little nudge that coffee wasn't quite agreeing with my body. Not in a huge dramatic way, just something felt off after I had a few cups. So instead of overthinking it, I decided to ask my body directly using muscle testing. I'll come back to what I found later. It's really quite interesting. I first experienced muscle testing about 10 years ago at a workshop in London, and I remember thinking, how is this even possible? It felt almost like magic. But over time, I've come to see it very differently. Not as magic, but as communication, a way of listening to the intelligence of my body. First, we need to start thinking of our bodies as holding information. They hold our experiences, emotions, beliefs, memories. So much of what drives your decisions isn't actually happening consciously. It's all happening in your subconscious. Your subconscious is processing millions of bits of information every second, while your conscious mind can only handle a tiny fraction of that. So, in many ways, your body already knows the answer before your mind does. Muscle testing is a simple way of asking, body, what do you know? And then noticing the response. And to understand this a little more deeply, it also helps to see the body not just as physical, but also as energetic. Your heart produces an electrical field, your brain produces electrical signals. Every cell in your body communicates electrically. So, in a very real way, your body is constantly sending and receiving information. When something feels aligned or true for you, your system tends to stay stable. There's a sense of strength, of coherence. When something feels stressful, false, or misaligned, the nervous system shifts slightly. And that can show up as a subtle weakening or disruption in the muscles. And that's exactly what muscle testing is picking up on. Very small, almost invisible changes in your nervous system. And it usually shows up in two ways: a strong response, which often represents a yes or alignment, or a weaker response, which can represent stress or a no. It's very subtle. But once you feel it, you can start to trust it. Muscle testing is often associated with a practice called applied kinesiology, which was developed in the 1960s, where practitioners noticed that muscles could reflect stress in the body. Over time, this expanded into using muscle responses to explore things like emotions, foods, beliefs, and decisions. But at its core, it's really simple. Your body responds differently to truth and to stress. One of the ways I personally like to think about this is the body is the voice of the subconscious. Your subconscious knows what foods make you feel good. It knows what environments feel safe. It knows when something is aligned and when it's not. But most of the time, we override that with logic and overthinking. You can start using this in your everyday life. You can check in with your body around things like food, supplements, decisions, opportunities, even your beliefs. So instead of overthinking, analyzing, you can simply ask questions like, is this supportive for my body today? Is this the right next step for me? Does this feel aligned for me? And my favorite question, is this for my highest good? And then just notice what your body does. This is exactly what I did with coffee. When I first asked my body, is coffee good for my body? I didn't get a clear answer. I was swaying in all directions. And that just highlights something really important. The way you ask questions really matters. So I got more specific. Is 1 cup of coffee good for me? I got a clear yes. Is 2 cups of coffee good for me? Again, a yes. I was very happy with this response so far. Is 3 cups of coffee good for me? And then I received a clear no, a definite sway backwards. So for me, that gave me clarity. 2 cups of coffee is my limit. And since I've been listening to that guidance, I have been feeling so much better. You can also use muscle testing to explore your beliefs, especially if you're working with manifestation or personal growth, because sometimes we consciously want something, but subconsciously, there's still a part of us that doesn't feel safe or worthy or ready. You can test statements like, I believe I am worthy of receiving abundance. I expect good opportunities to come into my life. I feel safe being seen. And your body will often show you where you are aligned and where there might still be a little bit of resistance. And that's not a bad thing. That's just awareness. And awareness is the starting point for change. If you want to try this for yourself, there are a few simple ways to begin. My go to is the sway test. You simply stand with your feet hip width apart, relax your body, take a breath, and ask, show me a yes. You might feel your body sway gently forward. Then you can ask, show me a no. And you might feel it move slightly backwards. Sometimes it's really subtle. Before you start asking questions, it's really important to find your yes and your no. You can also do this by saying something that you know is true, like your name, and then saying something false. My name is Deshanka. I should move forward. My name is Jennifer, and I should move back. Once you know what your yes and no feels like in your body, everything becomes much clearer. You can also use the fingering test, where you make a circle with your fingers and you ask a question or use a statement and gently try to pull your fingers apart and see if it stays strong or it breaks. Once again, it's important to know what your yes and no responses feel like. Another way to do it is the arm test with the help of a partner, where you put your arm out and you gently resist pressure, saying something true and false. This is what kinesiologists often use. So have a play around with them and see which one works best for you. A couple of little tips here. Muscle testing works best when you're relaxed, when you're hydrated, when you're not trying to force an answer, because this isn't about control. This is about curiosity. You could even start with a question like, is my body in the right state for muscle testing right now? And this is also where your intuition comes in, because muscle testing and intuition are really connected. Intuition is that gut feeling, that inner knowing. Muscle testing just gives your body a physical way to express that. It turns something subtle into something you can actually observe. And it's completely okay to feel a little skeptical. From the outside, it can seem a little unusual that a muscle would respond to a thought. Some people believe it's influenced by tiny unconscious movement, the ideomotor effect. And the research is mixed, so it's not widely accepted as a medical tool. But that doesn't take away from its value. For many people like me, it has become a really powerful self awareness practice. And honestly, a little curiosity and questioning is always a good thing. So if you take anything from this episode, let it be this: your body is always communicating with you. It's not something to override, it's something to listen to. Muscle testing isn't about getting perfect answers, it's about building a relationship with your body and your subconscious, learning how it speaks, learning how it responds, and starting to trust that there is a deeper intelligence within you that already knows. So here's what I'd love for you to do: try it. just once. Pick something simple today and ask your body a question. You might even choose to ask how many coffees are good for your body. Notice what happens. Stay open, stay curious. And if you do try it, I would genuinely love to hear how it felt for you. And if you would like to support the podcast, please consider sharing this episode with someone who feels like the right person. It might be exactly what they need to hear at this moment on their path. Thank you for listening with an open mind, a kind heart, and your dear, curious soul. Until next time, stay curious.